Emasculate all men, I say. They should all be walking around with dresses by the year 2030. There is a war on masculinity. There's a war on the nuclear family. There is a war on the very things that keep society together for millennia. From its inception. Whether or not you're aware of it, it is happening through the food that you eat. It's happening through the water that you drink. It is happening through the music that you're listening to, the movies and the television programmings, even this YouTube content you're consuming. You must ask yourself a question. All of the things that you're consuming, whether by mouth or by sound, what are you becoming consuming them? That is a legitimate question that everyone at some point must ask themselves. Because whether you agree or disagree, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You cannot be in between. So recently, Candice Owens have said the unthinkable. Because in the Twitter sphere where all the gods lives, gods of the liberals, gods of the left, where if you say anything controversial, and by controversial I mean anything that is against the agenda, anything that is against the leftist agenda, then you automatically should be stoned. It doesn't matter how good you were prior to that. You should be stoned and put to death. And that's why Candice Owens has been trending. She has said the unthinkable following the picture that has been released from Vogue magazine, I believe, with Style Harris wearing a dress. So Candice Owens have upset the Twitter gods when she says, "Bring back manly men." You see, there is a nefarious plan at hand to dismantle society. And the only way it's going to work is if you take out the first line of defense. And who is the first line of defense? The first line of defense is going to be the men that are the masculine men, the heterosexual male. That's who's the first line of defense. And that's who they're trying to target. And that's why toxic masculinity has become such a big deal. Now, there's nothing wrong with what Candice Owens says. Bring back manly men. That is true. Because we've seen over the years, so many men has been forced to wear a dress. And then following that, so many comedy skits, so many movies forcing men to wear a dress. Like Dave Chappelle say, he is funny without wearing a dress. I don't believe a man has to wear a dress, emasculate himself to look like a woman just to make a point. This is a plan within a plan, and it's hidden and is being controlled by the elites, the people that are behind the scenes, the people that you really don't see, the people that actually call the shots. That's what's happening. It's funny to see how people try to defend the man wearing a dress should be okay, because it's like the same thing that used to happen in Rome, in Scotland. Men would wear kilt, I think they're called. And that's not the same thing. It's funny that people try to use these arguments to make a point. But when everyone that is aware of what's going on can clearly see there is an agenda behind the agenda. You see? That's why Carl Jung said, in all disorder, there is a secret order. If you want to usher a new society, you have to dismantle the one you have. And that's what's happening, okay? Our little boys are being targeted. They are trying to literally normalized the idea of gender fluidity, even though it is against science, it's against common sense. You were born a man, you're gonna die a man. You were born a woman, you're gonna die a woman. This is what we know to be fact across all cultures from the inception of society. Several years ago, in fact, I was sitting at my sister's house in the living room, and I can remember that the light were off and her living room is kind of dark. And then all of a sudden I saw my nephew coming out, and I couldn't recognize him for a split second because he had on a wig. And I thought I was in the Twilight Zone because this is the type of games that's not played around in my family dynamics, especially when it comes to my nephew. So I was kind of confused, and I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, there's a play in my school, and my teacher think I could play the girl to say this part. So mommy was trying to see if this fits. I was like, what? Like, I couldn't really process what was going on at the time. So I went inside and asked my sister, what is this all thing? What is this about? What's going on here? Like, explain this to me because it's not making sense. Okay? So basically, there is a play in his school, and his teacher have chosen him to play the girl part. And my sister thought it would be okay for him to actually go to school with the wig in his book bag or bag or whatever, and then put it on when he get there so he can play the part. And I wasn't livid. I was just really couldn't think. I caught a brain freeze at the moment. And I asked my nephew, what is this class consist of? Is there any girl, are there any girl in that class? He says, yeah. You see, she didn't think nothing was wrong with the fact that my nephew is about to wear a wig just to play a part where there's girls in the class that could play the part. And it was okay until I said, it should not be, it is not okay. No, you're going to tell the teacher. In fact, we're going to call the teacher right now, and we're going to tell the teacher they have to reframe this entire thing. You're not about to play that part. You're not about to put the wig on, and you're not about to play the girl in that class. You see, it is very intentional that they bringing these things to our children, to the schools, so they can confuse these kids. You see why it's important to have the nuclear family? You see why it is important to have the fathers in the house? You see why it's important to remain in your masculine frame? Because you think women knows certain things when they really don't. This is why a man compliments a woman just as much as a woman compliments a man. Neither of them are actually better than the other. They are supposed to work in conjunction for a greater good. And the elites knows this. All of what's happening in the public school, all the drag queen, all the sexual conversations, all of the gender conversation, everything relating to sex that is bring forth in children courses, in children classes, or setting where children are, it is being done deliberately, is a way for them to confuse them so that they can pick a side even though they're totally unaware. It is very normal for children to grow up and be confused about their gender. But we're trying to put a stamp on it. You know, let's praise this little 5-year-old, say they're brave because he's a boy who thinks he's a girl, and he's a girl who thinks she's a girl who thinks she's a boy. So it's just like we literally deliberately trying to confuse them. So for Candice Owens to say, bring back manly men, and upsets the Twitter sphere, the gods of the liberals, the gods of the lefties, okay, it should really ring the alarm. This is a call. And I really, really greatly appreciate Candice for saying that. This is a call for every heterosexual male to stand in your masculine frame. This is a call for every man that still have your masculinity intact to actually double down on it. Do not acquiesce, because it is in your acquiesce that they will find loophole ways to actually dismantle society. Okay? So don't give in to the powers that be. You should fight this until your very last breath, because our society counting on you. Our society is counting on you, the masculine men. You are the first line of defense. You cannot allow them to win. You cannot allow them to actually emasculate your little boy. You must stand. And even if you think that your children, your boys don't need you, okay, I don't really care what's going on with you and the mother. I ask that you still find ways to be a very integral and very interactive part in your children's lives. Because if you're not, then you will leaving them up to the television, okay, to the TV programmings, to the TV shows, to actually give them the interpretation of what life should be like. And like I said, it is not pretty. There is a plan. There is a nefarious plan at hand. And you need to make sure that your children are protected. So cheers.